Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to come and share with you. I'm a little bit jet lagged. I just got back on Friday night from China, and actually in China right now it's about 9:25 p.m. So about time to go to bed. So I might yawn a little bit. Please don't think I'm bored. Sorry. But we went into China. There was 4 of us guys, and God really did miracles. It was amazing. We took in about a little over 1,000 Bibles. Majority of them, about 700 of them, were these pastor study Bibles. This is a pastor study Bible in Chinese, and if a pastor could find one of these on the black market to buy, he would pay 6 months to a year's salary to get one. Hundreds of dollars to buy one of these. And so we were able to move about 700 of these into China, and it was just a miracle. I'll pass this around so you can see this, but in China they say now between 25 and 40,000 people a day are coming to Christ. 25 to 40,000 people a day. They estimate over 100 million Christians in China today. Over 100 million Christians. And there's just such a hunger for the Word of God, they just cannot get it. It's not accessible to them. So actually Thursday night, we went across the border and we each had roller bags. So back up, on Wednesday night we went in, I went across by myself, and I had a roller bag full of Bibles. And it was really kind of interesting because there was a little boy that got up on the X-ray machine and ran through the X-ray machine right in front of me. And I was thinking, Lord, why didn't I have my bag on there faster? Because when it goes to the X-ray machine, they would have seen the little boy and been distracted by what was in my bag. And so he ran through the X-ray machine, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just laughing because nobody runs through the X-ray machine. You know, it's not a good idea. But so this little boy just gets up on there and runs right through it, you know. And I'm like, oh Lord, why was my bag on there faster? But I went through the customs, and the guy says, through the X-ray machine, my bag, and the guy says, come here. And so I went over to the side, and I said, can you believe that little boy just ran through there? He says, yeah, I can't believe it. And I said, is he all right? He says, yeah, but I need to see what's in your bag. And I'm like, okay. So I opened up this suitcase, and it's got 20 of those pastor study Bibles, just solid Bibles. He said, you can't bring all these in here. And I said, why not? You know, I thought you have freedom of religion. That's what you tell everybody in America, you have freedom of religion. He says, you can't bring these in here. He says, no, take them out. So I started taking some of them out and talking to them, and I said, sir, could I keep a few of them? He said, okay. So I kept about 5. They didn't check the pockets, so I had a couple more, and I had one more in my backpack. And he says, I said, why do you hate this book so much? He says, I don't hate this book. He said, I got a Bible at home myself. I said, do you ever read it? He says, no, I don't have any time. I said, well, you need to start reading it. And I believe if he started reading it, he'd see how precious it is, and he'd start helping us get him across the border. So they took 16 of them away from me on Wednesday night. So Thursday morning I went back through and I picked up those 16 Bibles and I headed back to Hong Kong. I went through another border and with those 16 Bibles in my roller bag. And this lady, there was only one lady in customs. She wasn't even paying attention at all. The X-ray machine was not on. I walked right through with no problem. So I told my friends, I said, we're going back to the border tonight. And so we all loaded up, 4 of us guys, with these pastor study Bibles in our roller bags. We had almost 100 pastor study Bibles between us. So we went walking through. Well, I was the last one. I thought, let them go through first. And so I was the last one, and the lady took a long time to stamp my passport. So those 3 guys walked right through. Well, I'm going through. I'm the last one. Another bus pulls up, and the lady said, put your bag on the X-ray machine. And I said, okay. So I put my bag on the X-ray machine. Then this guy says, come here. Bring the bag over here. And he was mad. He said, open it up. And I opened it up. It's just solid Bibles. And he said, what are you doing? You can't bring all these in here. I said, why not? And he said, you can bring a reasonable amount. And I said, well, what's a reasonable amount? He said, 1 or 2. I said, but you got over 1 billion people here. 20 is not an unreasonable number for 1 billion people, you know. And he said, you can't bring all these in here. And I started talking to him. I said, well, I heard a lady on the radio, and she said that there's no persecution in China, and there's no pastors in prison, and that you can get the Bible freely, so I thought I'd bring some more. He said, well, that's not true. She didn't tell you the truth, which I knew wasn't the truth. And so he said, well, you need to not listen to her. I said, well, you need to stop sending people like that over to America to tell people this. And I said, I'm going home tomorrow. He said, okay. So I went and talked to his supervisor. He said, he's leaving tomorrow. And the guy said, okay, let him go with his bag. He said, next time, just don't bring so many. Bring 1 or 2. I said, okay, right. You know, I'm out the door. And so we got to the hotel, and we moved all these bags of Bibles. Well, this guy and I, we went to, they started a little house church in an area Actually, the city of Shenzhen, when I went there in 1987, there was nothing there. It was like a little podunk town in Iowa. I mean, there was just a little village is what it was. And it was all rice paddies for 2.5 hours on the train to get to Guangzhou, the next big city. It was all rice paddies. Now, they said between Guangzhou and Shenzhen to the border with Hong Kong, it's 30 million people. 30 million people now live there. And it's all factories making stuff for Walmart. It's just solid factory after factory, and all these young people working 16, 18 hours a day producing stuff for our Walmarts. And so just unbelievable. And so we went to this one part of Shenzhen, and we rode for an hour and a half to find this place. We had to carry these Bibles up 5 flights of stairs. There was no elevators. And we had about 350 pounds of Bibles. And it was 92 degrees and 82% humidity. So by the time we got to the top of the stairs and delivered these Bibles, it was just unbelievable. I mean, we were just wore out. But God really blessed. We also went to northwest China, where I used to live, and we took in 220 Bibles for the Muslims that have become Christians. And it's the first time they've ever had the Scripture in their own language that they could actually read. There was one that was done in the early 1900s, but most people cannot read that today. That the language has changed, totally changed, and so they can't understand it. So we got to take the first load of these New Testaments in the Uyghur dialect, and it was just such a miracle to get them through. We went to the airport. We smuggled them across the border, and 3 out of 4 of us got stopped. The 3 guys got stopped, and they were talking to them, and they finally let them go. One guy had 37 confiscated, but the rest of them we got through. And so we went to get on the flight, and the same airport, it was kind of interesting. This is Tyler Gross in the back. Tyler works with me. And we were going to, a couple of months, actually back in November, I believe it was last year, we were going into China. And we were going through that same airport, and we had so much weight in our bags that we decided to carry some of it on the airplane with us. So we were going through this X-ray machine and security to get on the airplane, and they saw in the first roller bag, which was mine, they said, "Open the bag," because they could see the books. And so I opened them up, and there was a package in there, and they thought maybe it was a bomb. But they tore the package open, and here was some books in Chinese, some discipleship books. And then they saw the Bibles. And they just started freaking out, and they started putting stuff through the X-ray machine. Well, this other guy got stopped with me, and then the next one came through. It was Tyler, and I said, "Tyler, just take your bag and go to the gate." So he grabbed his bag and headed off to the gate. The next guy came, and I said, his bag came through. I said, "Ryan, take your bag and go to the gate." So he grabs his bag. He's off the gate. Well, they're saying in Chinese, they said they're leaving. They're taking all the stuff. Well, the last one came through was Marilyn's bag, and I said, "Marilyn, take your bag and go to the gate." She said, "What?" I said, "Just do it. Go." So she grabs her bag and she's gone. Well, they called the head policeman for the whole security in the airport. They called this guy. He came over and he started looking through our Bibles and everything else. And I thought, man, we're going to jail today. and the guy said, "Well, how long until their flight?" And he looked and they said, 20 minutes. The guy said, forget it. Just let them go. So we walked over the gate. They were over at the gate praying, and we met up with them, and they said, "Wow, what a miracle. The Lord got us through." We got on the flight. They closed the door, and the flight was delayed an hour. And I felt like God says, "Guess who's in control here? You know, I'm in control. I'm in control. Don't worry."